When we divide decimals, um, there's no real tricks to this, but we're going to treat the numbers as though they didn't have decimals, just as long as we keep the decimal in the same place. Now that may sound confusing. Let's look at some examples. Hopefully that will clarify itself. But on number 1, well, 8 doesn't go into 6 at all. So I'm going to treat that as 64 now, not 6.4. And how many times does 8 go into 64? Well, that would be 8. So when I multiply this, 8 times 8 is 64. So when I subtract, I have 0 remaining, and that gives me my answer. So 3 is the same idea. 3 won't go into 2, but if I treat that as 27, it can go into there. But again, I need that decimal in my answer in the same place as the decimal from the dividend. So 3 will go into 27 9 times. 9 times 3 is 27. I subtract, I got 0 remaining. That's good. If we needed to, we could drop zeros here. And of course, even we can do this right now. 3 goes into 0 times, and you just get a bunch of zeros, which is why we stop. So 8 won't go into 2, and that's okay, because we can make that 2.0, which really, again, we treat this like 20, right? Well, 8 will go into 20. 2 times 8 is 16. Subtract, that gives me 4. Well, that means I'm going to need another 0. I'm going to just drop that and make that 40. 8 will go into 40 5 times. 5 times 8 is 40. Now when I subtract, I get 0. And, well, that leaves me with 0.25. This one, well, 20, again, if both of the numbers have decimals, here's what we can do. Is we can move the decimals, to the right. As long as we move them the same number of places, it's not going to change anything. And I'll show you guys why here in a moment. So what I mean by that is I'm going to move this decimal to the right, which gives me a whole value to divide by. But if I do it to that number, I have to do it to the other number as well. That should sound familiar because really division is just fractions. So it's like I just multiplied both these numbers by 10. So I had an equivalent fraction, which is 23 divided by 16.1. So this should look a little bit more doable here. 23 doesn't go into 1, it doesn't go into 16, but it will go into 161. Now I'm not familiar with multiples of 23, so here's what I usually do because I don't have a calculator. I just write multiples of 23. 23, 46, 69, 92. That's 115. 115, not 40, 130, 138. And that gives me a few multiples of 23 that I can go off of. Oh, wait, no, I do need more to get to 161, right? So I didn't expect that. 161, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 times 23 apparently is 161. So when I subtract that, I get 0 remaining. I mean, you could write this as 0.7 if you want. So this brings up another question for the test. Here's what I see sometimes on the test is point. So there's my 0.7, which is usually a lot bigger, like this. Okay, you see how that decimal is very hard to see? Now, it's hard for me to tell if you meant for that to be a decimal or somehow you just grazed the paper with your pencil or pen. So just emphasize that. I mean, if you're not going to put the 0 there, at least emphasize the decimal. If you put the 0 and emphasize the decimal, even better, okay? Just be careful on that because sometimes I go back and I have to ask the student what they meant to put there. And sometimes it is, they just grazed the paper, so be careful. Okay, and this one's going to have to work the same way. So I'm going to move that decimal over here and here as well. So that gives me 65 And then 7693.4. I mean, that means we may have a decimal there or not. I don't know. But, once again, for me, I'm going to make a list of multiples of 65, just so I can see, I can kind of have a quick reference on that. Again, the purpose of this is because I don't have a calculator. It's 195, 160. Oh, that's 260, dang it. And then the next one would be 325, 380, 390, 455, and we'll just stop there. 501, 520. Oh no, well, yeah, that's fine. So the 65 won't go into 7, but it will go into 76 once. So I'll subtract 65 out of this thing, and well, I get a 1, 1. 65 won't go into 11, but it will go into 119 once, minus 65. And then I got a 4, carry the 1, 5. 54. So I'm going to need to drop this 3. I dropped the 9 already. 543 looks like that's my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th term there. 8 times the 65 is 520. So I'll subtract that, and I got 234 now. It goes into 234 3 times. I'm going to need more space. 3 times, which was 195. And this, I have to borrow some stuff here. 14 and 5 is 9. 12 and 9 is 3. Oh, this is good. Now when I need to add a 0 there and drop it to make that 390, which is a multiple right there. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'll put a 6 there. 6 times 65 is 390, and this cancels out, leaving us with 0 remaining. So our final answer there would be 118.36. I apologize, yep. Dollars. So we got a lot of decimal places on this one. And we'll move this decimal over 3 spaces to make that 79. Which means we'll move this one 3 places as well to make it 118.5. This is division. Again, I'll put the decimal in the same place. 79, I want multiples of that. So, I got 79. And then, I'm actually using my calculator here. 158, 237, 316, 395, 474. We'll try one more, 553. If we need more, we'll make them. So 79 will not go into 1 or 11, but it will go into 118 once. So subtracting 79 out of this, I get 9, borrow that, 39, and we'll drop the 5. 395, we can see that's this multiple, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1.5, subtract 395, and we have 0 remaining, so our answer is just 1.5. Four roommates need to split a $52.68 electric bill evenly. How much will each need to pay? So if we wrote this out, we got a $52.68 bill. We're going to divide this amongst 4 people. We'll just write this out as long division. So I got my dividend, $52.68, and dividing by my divisor, 4. One of the mistakes we get with this type, changing it into a long division, is that we get the 4 where the 52.68 is. Okay, now hopefully by the time you answer this problem, it would make sense that that's not where that would go. because we have to divide by 4 people, okay? So 4 will go into 5 once, so subtract 4. Got a 1, we'll drop the 2. 4 goes into 12 3 times. This is working out pretty good. So now we got 0, which means I need to drop the 6. 4 goes into 6. Again, the decimal place is right there. Once, subtract 4, giving us 2. We'll drop the 8. 4 goes into 28 7 times. So it looks like our final bill for each person would be $13.17.